Real quick before we get into things, full disclosure, the developer of Haste Landfall Games sent me a review code for it, so I didn't have to pay for the game, and that might paint my opinion of it a little more positively than otherwise, so just wanted to let you know, but I wasn't told to say anything about the game. Everything I'm going to be saying in this video is 100% my honest opinion, as always. And, I was actually a little bit hesitant about this game going into it. Seeing gameplay of it, it looked good, but it also looked fairly simple to me, and I was wondering if it really had enough meat on those bones to be something I would really enjoy. But now that I've actually played it, I see that it is, in fact, a very simple game. But that's not really a problem. I think that it's quite fun indeed. Not a mind-blowing, amazing, phenomenal game that I think you absolutely must play, but a very enjoyable experience, especially for people that like high-speed, momentum action games. It's really satisfying to play this game well, keep your speed up, maintain your momentum, don't hit anything, fly through these levels super fast. It is very simple, and I'd even really say repetitive, honestly, but not in a bad way. Having now beaten the game, I was having a really good time with it the whole time. Never felt like it was getting old. Just the very basic flow and core moment-to-moment gameplay of this game just works really well, and it's almost relaxing in a way. So for anyone who doesn't know, Haste is a roguelike kind of platformer, I guess, but that feels a little weird to call it that. It's more like an endless runner kind of thing. The main thing with Haste is you have a bunch of procedurally generated linear levels that you need to get to the end of, and behind you the level is being like destroyed or corrupted or whatever. So in order to avoid getting killed by that, you're gonna have to go pretty fast to outrun that corruption. And the way you go fast is by riding the slopes of the terrain in a way that undeniably has some feelings of Sonic the Hedgehog to it, but I'd say even more so, it kind of invokes Tribes feelings for any boomers who know what that is. Because as far as I can tell, the main way you build speed in Haste is not by running on downward slopes, it's by falling and then using slopes to convert that fall speed into forward speed, which is why one of the main mechanics here is diving. As you're flying through the air, you can kind of shallow the arc you're flying on to line yourself up to hit a slope in the right way that you want to, because lining up those angles is really what this game is all about. You can see every time you hit the ground, you get a little rating of either okay, good, or perfect, or bad if you really screw it up. And those tell you how well aligned you were with the ground when you hit it, because ideally you want to be as straight on as possible, as that will maintain the most of your speed possible, because if you slam into a surface at an uneven angle, then a lot of your speed is going to get lost. That right there is basically 90% of what this game is. Running really fast, launching yourself off of slopes, and then falling in just the right way to line yourself up, try to get as many perfect landings as you can to maintain your speed and go even faster. And just keep on doing that, and as you can see, it's pretty cool and very fun. And as you get further into the game, you get to more complex layouts with more hazards and more obstacles that they throw at you that you gotta weave through and try to avoid getting hit. And as you get better at the game, you start to realize that it's not just your landings that matter, but also your launches. The angle of the slope that you launch yourself off of will determine the trajectory of your launch, meaning if you go off a really steep slope, then you're gonna launch up super duper high, which means a lot of your forward speed is getting converted to upward speed, which actually ends up slowing you down. Most of the time, you actually want to go for pretty straight launches that mostly propel you forward, so you're looking for those more shallow inclines to launch off of. And eventually you start to think that while you could fly really far to avoid a lot of the hazards out there, it's actually in many cases more preferable to land on the ground frequently, because getting good landings fills that yellow meter above your health, and that enables you to use your special ability. There are a few of these you can pick from that give you extra options, but honestly, I feel that this system could use a lot of work, because some of these are really not very impactful, and a lot of them are grossly imbalanced with each other, in my opinion. Like, the default one you start with is the hoverboard, which just gives you a little bit of extra speed and distance and a tiny bit of extra height if you use it in the air. And it's like, okay, I guess, but you can see it drains the meter super quickly, so you don't really get a lot of bang for your buck for it. There are ways to make it more useful through items, because this is a roguelike, so you do get, like, shops and whatever, and a couple of items that will give you various different kinds of upgrades, so you can get more meter fill and stuff like that that can make these abilities more useful. But don't expect something like Binding of Isaac, where you're gonna get like crazy, ridiculously powerful item synergies that break the game. It's still mostly a skill-based game, and you're gonna have to just use your abilities. These kind of just give you little upgrades that let you go a little bit faster, or get a little bit more sustain, some healing, things like that. And while through items it is possible to make the board a bit more usable, it really doesn't compare to, say, the grappling hook, which is way more practical and versatile and also faster. Plus, it's a friggin' grappling hook, and you know I love me a good grappling hook in a game, and this is a very good grappling hook. You can manually aim where you're going to grapple to, and it has full real physics-based grappling. You can hold on to the grappling hook as long as you want to alter the angle that you launch off from. You can grapple the ground to alter the arc of your fall, or just use it to pull yourself into something to gain some speed. It's pretty cool and really fun to use. And then you compare that to something like the Hourglass, which lets you slow down time, including you, and it builds up a thing that when you release, you get launched in a certain direction. And it's like, okay, well, the slowdown thing is just for, like, if the game's too fast and you can't handle it. I get that, not really something I'm interested in. And the launch is no better than what I could get from the other options. So that thing was basically useless to me. But honestly, even as cool as something like the grappling hook is, all of the other ones are completely useless in my opinion compared to the wings, or whatever it's called, because this basically does everything that every other one does, but way better and even more practical and even more versatile, because this gives you multiple charges where you can basically do like an air jump, gaining a bunch of height, and this is so useful in so many ways. Obviously, it can be used to give you more height and distance on your jumps, which can help you if you fall short or want to line up your angle a little bit better for something further down the road. But also, you can use it to help line up your landings, because with the dive, you can only make your landing more shallow, but if you overshoot it, then there's nothing you can do to kind of flatten back out and go forward again. But the wings allow you to do that. They kind of straighten your angle back out, slowing you down a little bit, but it allows you to dive really sharply, build up a bunch of fall speed, and then you can flap right before you hit the ground to kind of line up with the surface. And this can also be used just in general when you're diving really fast to convert your fall speed into forward speed, allowing you to go way faster, way more easily than with any of the other options, making the wings just so clearly objectively better than everything else. Once I figured this out, I was just not using anything else anymore. Not only are they better than the other options, but they're also more fun, especially when you start to get some items that let you build up a lot of meteor and you can use the wings a lot. Then it starts to turn into almost like a flying game, like you legitimately kind of feel like a bird where you're soaring over the landscape, flapping every so often to maintain your height and keep going, land just a little bit, launch off again, weaving through everything, both in the air and on the ground. It's really awesome. I love these things, and I think the other items really need to be brought up to this level in terms of usefulness, but also just being really fun to use. The grappling hook is the closest one, obviously, but even that, I think, doesn't really compare. Not that that's a huge problem or anything, so some of the items are a bit imbalanced. Who really cares? Overall, the game is really fun, but kind of interestingly, for a game as fast as this, I don't really find it to be especially intense. This isn't the kind of game where I have to like really lock in and concentrate super hard to play well, because like I said, it is very simple, and as long as you kind of get the idea of what to do, you can kind of play it in a bit of an autopilot kind of sense, where you just automatically run forward and launch off slopes, so you just have to steer and line up for the falls. And I almost found it a bit meditative, in a way. It's a very pleasant game, and I like that once you complete one of the levels, you can opt to just keep on going into, like, an endless mode. And yeah, this is definitely the kind of game I can see myself just, like, loading up, picking a stage, and just playing it for as long as I can until I die. And just going forward, it's just a really nice thing to do if you're into this kind of gameplay and these kinds of games. A nice, relaxing, but still fast-paced and cool little experience. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Some people might look at this gameplay and go, "You call this relaxing?" But yeah, I kinda do. Though it does start to ramp up toward the end of the game and get more intense and demanding, and I gotta really commend the boss fights in this game, because normally, games that are not focused on combat, I find usually have pretty weak bosses, but I'd actually call the boss fights in this game a highlight. They're all really cool and interesting and really fun and well designed, because they all focus on the core ideas of the gameplay, going fast, dodging stuff, and going through cool little obstacle courses. But here they like really ramp that up with interesting design and cool attacks that the bosses throw at you that force you to really avoid a lot of stuff in really intense scenarios. By far my favorite boss in the game is the snake, where it's this giant thing moving through the stage pretty quickly, and you can run on its body and try to catch up to its head, but it's also shooting lasers and these giant explosions at you. And again, you want to try to ride those slopes, because if you go up too high, you're losing speed, you're not catching up to it. So you really got to be on the ball here to play this well, and it's really intense and really fun. So yeah, big props to the developers Landfall here for making bosses that I think are not only really good, but might even be my favorite part of the game. That's really rare for this kind of game. I guess it's worth mentioning that while this is a roguelike, it's not the kind that you're going to dump 400 hours into. It took me just under 8 hours to beat the game. And, you know, I could see myself going back for some endless runs just for the fun of it, but it's not going to be your next Hades or whatever. The roguelike elements here are very understated compared to the core gameplay. Really, the biggest thing you get from that is just the procedurally generated levels. Beyond that, it feels like kind of a relatively standard action runner, platformer, whatever this game is. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Haste. And like I said before, this isn't the most mind-blowing game I've ever played or anything, but it is pretty friggin' solid, and I would say I had a very good time with it. I definitely recommend it, especially if you can tell that it's your kind of game. If you can really vibe with what it's going for. You know, it's very simple, very straightforward, and it just executes its core idea really well. And that's totally fine with me. And the game in general is fairly unique. You know, it's got similarities to other games out there, but the way it's all put together and arranged here makes it unlike anything I've ever played, so that's cool. In a world plagued with Vampire Survivors knockoffs, I'm always happy to see something a little bit different, and if you are as well, then maybe give Haste a try.